by Lucozade and Solomon Bespoke.
Welcome, the truth. Everything come out of your home. The truth. I living alone in the jungle. I living alone in the jungle. Snake and lion, hearts are humble. I living alone. I living alone in the jungle. I living alone in the jungle. Snake and lion, hearts are humble. I don't want them already. They can't stop my destiny. But if you stand in front of me, oh boy, oh my lad, I see you coming with wanga to put me under pressure. But I come in like a soldier, running like thunder. Mama, soldier, come out to play in the morning, and you see how we sink on nutty.
This is Manhood, and we're talking about culture and community. I'm going to go straight into it. To my right, Johan Sayawdike, behavior change consultant. To his right, Stefano Macano, Steffi, Blue Devils. I mean, you might be looking at him now and you might not even recognize or realize that he's been amongst you at some point during the carnival period or anything outside of that. And to his right, Keegan Taylor, stick fighting, the boss, the real man. This put a smile on my face. Not only knowing you, gentlemen, of course, in seeing you in your expertise in your space, but as just conversationalists, as men, some really, really deep conversation, one of which was social slipstream. You know, a word I will certainly, or phrase I will use at some point during this show. I make no apologies. I'm gonna take that and spin it back out and throw it and make myself sound intelligent. But culture and community. One thing during, whether it be carnival or the culture of Trinidad and Tobago, a big thing that is part of us and we love to see is stick fighting, Blue Devils. We saw even you guys when I Show Speed was down in Trinidad, you know, the demonstration to him and how impressed, the Cambule and how impressed he was. Before we really go into the community aspect of it, I want to really get people to understand this culture and maybe some myths or some wrong bits of misinformation they may have, but I love to hear the terms like the carré and the bois and the gael and things like that, because just to share a quick story, when my dad was alive, I don't know if they still do it, but in areas like Aruca and Moruga and these areas, there was you used to have to dig a hole or something in the concrete. And the whole idea was to really literally bust your head. And then when you bust your head now, you're supposed to lean and let it drip out. I don't know if maybe because of social media or whether it be improved laws or different things like that, that people no longer do that. But it's fascinating to me, the whole art of stick fighting, especially when you go to it in the Gael and you start to understand the dance and the rhythm and what goes into the stick. And basically what I'm trying to say, enough talking from me.
You want to hear about stick fighting. So stick fighting, also known as calendar, is what we'll term as a Caribbean martial art, right? An Afro-Caribbean martial art, that's the term that is used to describe. So are you saying it's unique to us as in the Caribbean? Yes, it is. However, there are studies, there are books written on it. We have different writers like Maureen Warner Lewis. She wrote a book that talks about the transshipment of African culture, especially Central African culture, into the Caribbean, and how, when different aspects of our culture landed, what happened to it, right? So she covered games, like the games rounders and skip and some of these things that we play now, how they have ancestry and connection to Central African games. Things like what we know, we hear the word susu. Like, we're just going to try susu. Where them words come from? What does it mean? Words like susu, for example, it speaks to an African economic management system. When we think of economics, we think only of the bank, we think more dollars and more cents and investment. But in terms of things that would have come from the continent, we have memory and structures in place that came from the continent, and they are embedded in the things that we do right now. One of those things would be stick fighting, as we know it as calendar. Now, in Trinidad and Tobago, we have that martial art system. We have a stick, a hole either side. Two men go up against each other to the sound of drums in a space called a gael. Now, calendar is throughout the Caribbean, but we know it in Trinidad how we know it. However, in places like Martinique, Guadeloupe, Grenada, Jamaica, Barbados, where they have a style called stick licking, Puerto Rico, they have a style called cocoa ballet, but they also call it calendar. But the calendar.
Why the stick licking and the cocoa ballet kind of taken away from the macho-ness of it? Now. It's all suspect, Steffi.
Yeah. Well, stick licking, it comes from the word licks.
Right, okay.
So stick licking, they say it different. But I would personally stand on it and say, yeah, that Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados have the two more lethal forms. And I give credence to Trinidad because we continue hitting hard, whereas in the other territories, you can get deeper into that if necessary, but through banning of the religious practices as well as the guile species, because they found that calendar was one of the central areas that caused the enslaved people to build the confidence and then go to the uprising. So they say, well, when we clamp this down, we're going to move the things that make it all they feel like, oh, there's man. So they take away the drums, they take away the bandy guile, and they take away the stick in places like Martinique where they have damier. Damier is a style that looks like capoeira. You could hit, you could kick, you could butt, but it's like a dance and it run into the drum too. But they don't have the stick.
So is it accepted, because you said we have the lethal form, is it accepted that if by some unfortunate incident it happens in the guile, in the calendar, that
currently, yes.
That there's no legal implications after.
Ultimately, no. Right? But there are songs like the Lavaways, which you sing around the guile, they sing about
give me a piece there, I like to.
Yeah. From the day I hold me boy, from the day I hold me boy, my mama say I's a murderer. From the day I hold me boy, and the next one. If the sergeant try to stop we, if the sergeant try to stop we, the doctor go dress his body. If the sergeant try, so it sings about the different
I could see why they wanted to ban it.
You understand?
Yeah, because immediately that gets if I had a stick now and you size up there to me.
I mean, like the cultural trauma is deep, right? Because the Cambule play talks about when we as Trinidadians, led by a stick fighter by the name of Joe Tamina and the people of Lavantil and Piccadilly Street, stood up against Captain Baker, which was the English constabulary who was going to shut down Freedom Mass, shut down Carnival. And the stick fighters and the people in the village went up against men on horses and things and defeat that. That colonial trauma stays with us all till now. Because when you go down by the guy, you're going and see, it. They see men, they see the police will come down there, no hat and no thing, that's come down in full riot gear, pads, things, big guns, and they have batons themselves.
So is the same thing repeating itself?
It is
more or less.
It is a colonial trauma because the memory within our culture of the police or the constabulary, the law, fighting against those who had sticks. That remained from then. I don't know if all those police know why they do that. They will probably be told, okay, we're going down by the stick, pulling a riot gear because X and Y. But the real reason, in my humble opinion, is because that historic memory remains that these group of people have the potential to go up against us even though we have guns. So funny enough, that memory, because just recently, my general understanding of stick fighting is that, in terms of looking for why it's important, is that Joe Tamina and them fight against the British and give us our carnival. Yay, right? That makes you feel good, but there's more to it. And I was wondering, how more to this, man? This thing feeling. And then I started learning that all the way back up in Haiti, they used to have these guiles. The word actually remains, where the drummers would come together and the people would run away and go in the bush and have these gatherings and play stick. They would learn from the stick first, because as it goes, before they use the Tiwe machete, which is their style with the cutlass, and then they move ultimately to the bayonet, they had to start with the bois. So the bois was always first. So the revolutionary men who fight the Haitian army and was walking down on La Bastille and singing, if I lost a finger to cry, if I lost, and them men shooting the pow, and they're still coming, pow, why these men still coming? Because they're chanting coming and they're sticking down and they're coming for you, who are the cutlass are coming. So that ancient memory lives in the tradition still. Which is why up to today, say there's a drunk man's sport, I will never do that. And you see two men run up each other. Why them do that? Why they doing that? It's an ancient memory of power and resistance that resides in our culture that is not just Trinidadian but Caribbean, right?
But, you know, if you bring all that into, you know, a lot of people ask themselves sometimes, Steffi, okay, well, if I'm not into stick fighting, how does that impact me? But so the same people who love to play pretty mass right now really and truly have to now be thankful, because had it not been for that revolution, we wouldn't have. I mean, maybe it may have later on become something, but the catalyst, the moment that we can
and that's what
focus on.
Now is an important time. We are filming this, you know, a little while before emancipation, and we sometimes lose the connection between emancipation and carnival, right? Carnival has become very commercial. You know, the statement was made across the waters, and it was taken in an offensive manner. I can't speak to how the person intended to speak it, but we have to admit, knowing what carnival is to us, carnival is a ritual. It's a ritual before it's other things.
You see, when you talk about culture, right? The culture and community, culture in itself, sometimes we think about culture as a sense, but culture is also a practice. Whatever a community, a society continue doing becomes its culture, whether good or bad, indifferent or not, right? And keeping a story alive, real important, because, you know, sometimes they say, if you don't know, you can't know where you are now if you don't know where you came from. So I'm glad you spoke about that. And then 2 days to all the younger folks who into AI and thing and making movies. You see, that is something I would love to see depicted. If you can make a live action movie, you know, AI now could look like real. That is something I would love to see, to even the youth to see, and in that social media format, so that they could understand where things come from.
Yeah.
So as we're talking about culture, I mean, like I said, during this podcast here, I want to talk a lot more about it, because there's so many other questions like "wah," I know means wood, but you know, the ritual behind the stick, and the whole thing is to get the stick to sort of bend behind to hit the person's head, and there's so many other things that I might even be saying things here, and you might be going, yeah, it's not exactly that. But to correct me on those things, but I want to bring Steffi into the convo, because Blue Devils, I mean, part of the, you know, apart from what it symbolizes. Give me some of the history, because a lot of people just look at it as, oh, that is some kind of Satan thing, or that is mad people thing, or what blue, or you know, or the harassing me if I you know, what with money, and then also the difference between our Blue Devils and Jab, because I mean, I would tell you every year, King, I tell myself, I go in and be a Blue Devil in Parliament. I gotta go through the whole thing and go down the street, and every year something comes up. But this year I actually went into Parliament and took, you know, was part of it, took my son to see all the fire breathing and things like that. But I want to, one year, the same way I want to go into the guy, I'd want, but I'm afraid too bad. I'm not lying to tell you. Because I feel if you hit me with a stick, you know, they used to call, what's it called? I want to use the N word, N-rate, long time, instead of karate thing, like monkey gland race. I feel I will forget about stick at that point. But
Blackie Chan.
Blackie Chan, you know. So, but tell me about Blue Devils.
Okay, so from my understanding, because I was born into the Blue Devil culture. I am a true Panamanian. I represent that culture, and that was all that I knew at a point in time. Seeing it was so natural to me that I went all over playing Blue Devils with different bands, because I was so passionate about it. So I understood different styles. And growing up, there were certain things that you should do and shouldn't do. Modern day, this is modern day Blue Devils, you know. Just as he said, in an era, in that timing, it was a violent timing. I realized that. Men, just like how Steel Pan used to meet and fight, it's just so Blue Devils used to get on. Even if you was a young band of Blue Devils, they would take everything you have. Your wings, your mask, your fork, everything. You know.
This is the police.
Oh. This is the other job. This is, you know.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so they were.
This was tradition.
They were warring, right?
Yeah, that what bad job meant.
Serious war, or
they come in your house, and if you don't pay them, they will take your bake on your fire. and they see your children waiting for the food, and it's bad job.
You ever hear the term bad job before?
No.
that-
This is
so
interesting
you see,
because
like,
again,
how
I only
there's
know the
wicked
pretty
job.
side of it. No.
I only know bad job because it's Blue Devils, right? And well, my couple made patwa, and job molasses devil. But how you could be blue and then say yes, I'm molasses devil? That don't make sense, you know. So that is why I start saying job blay. Blay is blue in patwa. So understanding the patois language from my community and loving the men who bring down the tradition to me to understand it, I understood to speak it eventually, because a lot of people keep saying, hey, go by Steffi and he will tell you where to go and what to say, you know, and who to go by. And when they researched, I was also a part of the research because I had to ask the questions that they was thinking. And then eventually I evolved into asking my own questions and saying it in the way to make my people proud, because every time I go out there, I could walk through Parliament, go in the shop and say, hey, I see you, boy, you're looking good, you know. And that is a privilege that a lot of people who just put on blue and want to say these Blue Devils, they would not understand the burden that I have, which is still a privilege to me, because if I disappoint somebody, if I say something bad here, no. How much you better? I will bring you by Cool Breeze, right? And we'll drink a beer. Before that beer done, somebody go and tell me about that. You know, in a way? Yeah. I cannot do nothing wrong. Well, I shouldn't. And that is why I always go back to my people. How you think I look? How you think I talk? You know? And they say, yeah.
Because
and
they
that
are
is what community.
They are the culture. They are the elders.
Yeah. And not just the elders. Young people too. A young cousin. I remember for weeks he said, boy, I have something to tell you, you know. But every time it's amongst people now. Then he said he couldn't take it no more. He said, let me tell you something. You need somebody to dress you, you know. Because you see this thing with you missing blue here and thing you representing for we. I ain't want you to feel it in a way.
Looking sharp like that.
You have to represent for we. Because the people and them finally doing it in the best way possible to explain what tradition means, you know, and the importance of it. Because if they mislead this, or they put and somebody else is to mislead this, then all will be lost because of greed and commercialization and not researching where from.
Correct.
So
like anybody feel they could come and just paint up themselves and if they don't understand.
You just put on blue, put on our horns, and let's get on.
Because they don't understand the meaning behind it.
No, they don't understand. Even if it's how much you're paying, that is very disrespectful to the community and to the people that actually bring this to life. And take it from being so gory and misunderstood to actually having it understood right now.
It come from somewhere.
It come from somewhere. No,
because we did not come down from Parliament and fight in no Cambley riots. How that possible? I don't even know what's going on in Paulus Spain right now with social media, right? So you tell me how it is a slave could say, all right, well, I hear them fellas and them riots, you know. We will go down and help them. I don't see that possible. It's not making sense, you know. So I could see that we were in cocoa estates and we evolved, you know, and we had the same traditions, and we still have African traditions where there's a lot of Blue Devils over the world. But if it's somebody half-hearted in it, how much you better you will tell this? You could tell.
So Steffi, before we go to the break, I'm still fascinated by the bad job that you were speaking about, right? Because again, ignorance. That's the whole reason for having discussions like this to be informed, and I would have thought, okay, well, there are traditions behind it, just, you know, and again, like how you talk about the stick fighting, getting to know this information. You know, at my age, you'd think, hey, we should know this information. But the truth is, I don't. And now I'm happy that you're never too old to learn something. And by using forums and platforms like this to communicate to many other people who I'm sure are sitting on and going, hey, I didn't know that either. I'm appreciative more of the culture than I was before. And I was very appreciative. And the same thing for Blue Devils. As I said, I wanted to partake in it, but I didn't understand that. To me, anyone that would have painted themselves and come out and behave in a particular way, that was just their own, whether they were inebriated or them being almost onto themselves, using the culture at that particular point to do something negative. I didn't realize that it was actually born from that. Like, that's how there was this inner war, and you would actually go into people's homes, and what you're demonstrating on the road actually happened in a very invasive, violent way. That to me is...
Yeah, and it was when they banned the drumming and skin jobs in 1884. That is when they started picking up the tambu bamboo, and that is when the pong pong was born, which is the steel pan, and we used to boil pitch oil, ham in pitch oil pan. So we also have bongo, which we use as tambu bamboo, right? And the drums, when you listen to the drumming that we do, it's different sets.
The drumming or the crick span?
Exactly. So when they banned the drums, they started knocking on this pitch oil pan, because they used to boil it all the time.
So what you know as pitch oil pan, we just call crick span.
The crick span.
Yeah.
It's the same pan, or is it a different one?
It's almost the same shape. But when you tune it, right? Now what I'm saying is an oil drum when it is holding oil. And then when you put fire on it, and it comes into tune, it's a pan,
two
right?
ancestors
but
talking
no,
there, you know.
when it is I tune a regular crick span, it's still a crick span. I don't understand that, because it's three different sounds. We now tune in, this is a musical instrument. If you sit down on a pan, a man go and cuss you up.
Yeah, because
a musical instrument.
it changed now. Yeah, it changed
you
now.
understand? So that is why I'm saying that a lot of people don't understand the Blue Devil culture, and that is why they think it is just zombie-like now. It's just anybody could do that, and they don't actually see the preparation.
So you don't understand, Steffi. You are because you, like you said, you were born into it. You are part of it. You understand it.
Yeah.
You are saying certain things, but you don't understand that as you saying those things, there's just so many wow moments for me, because what you may have said, even in communication to many people over a period of time, it comes second nature to you. But to me, hearing this information for the first time, like how you saying you tune in your pitch oil pan or your crick span, I'm like,
music with movement, right?
I just think you just pick up a crick span anywhere. You could go tat 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 tat.
And people don't understand this control chaos, because how it is you could come into Port of Spain and look like a mindless creature. Nobody go and get blue, not from my team. Nobody not going and getting no altercation, fire breathing, all kind of things happening, chaotic. And yet you could still go and take a picture with one of them. You know, and people don't understand the level of professionalism.
But people wouldn't understand it, you know. You see, that's why you're speaking about it now is what would bring you. So you have a saying, knowledge is power.
Yeah, depending on who using it. If you have knowledge and you're not using it, well then
no. But what it also does is when you come around, when you go to stick fighting or when you go to Blue Devils and you see these performances, people understand that. I've told people before, they said, "Well, you went into Parliament in that situation." I said, "Well, I never felt safer." I had my son, 9-year-old. He was all up in the mix in the circle behind the ropes, and I didn't for 1 minute when. I had him and I said, hey, go and take that.
And it's when you see a little child smaller than your son playing the baddest jab it have.
Jabbing.
Kind of so I know we need to take the break, but I'm excited even to start back again because just things like tuning a pan, like a picture, like how do you even do that? The noise that comes around it. The stick, wow, we're taking a short break.
Yeah.
This is Manhood. We're talking about culture and community and what a culture this country has.
This is Manhood, and we're talking culture and community. So back to the question with the Blue Devils. Now, jab is a terminology which is devil mass, right? Is actually DJAB, not JAB. And jab is a bookman. Jab could be a warahun. Jab could be a rope jab, which is whipman, which everybody knows as jab. Jab could be jab molasi. Jab could be a particular type of dragon mass as an imp. So when you say jab, it's a terminology of mass. Because even Moko Jumbies, they say, I'm going to play a jab. Even fancy Indians, they say, I'm going to play a jab. So in my point of view, I realize jab is a terminology for devil mass as masqueraders, traditional masqueraders. Now, when it comes to the colors and to identifying them, that is where they would say, I am a rope jab, like Mr. Ronald Alfred, or I am a jab molassie, like molasses devil. Now, Grenada has their oil jab now. So now it is a different culture. Haiti has their jabs also. And
is it born from all very similar circumstances?
It is the same connected element of the portrayal. Now, Blue Devils, from what I learned, I understand that they portrayed St. Michael the Archangel because we come from a Roman Catholic community, right? And a lot of things when it comes to the portrayal of Mass are connected to that, even if it was in a mocking state or not, because even the bookman, they looked at the man who was dressed in the church as a gong and a big
man
book.
Is the highest level of the devil.
And that was the man who was taking the names when they come off the ship.
So
and
it was mocking. So you use the devil as the opposite of what they will portray.
It's something like that.
Yeah,
that complexity.
The slaves, you would say, especially with the bookman, the treatment that they got, it would have never been an next human doing somebody that.
So in the Blue Devils, is it that the slaves, is it that the slaves looking at, say, St. Michael or the depiction of religion, is it that they want to mock that?
No.
As in,
but it's not always that mocking.
No,
and
right.
just to add to what he's saying, because again, it's one Afrocentric experience, but when you listen to Steffi talk, Steffi is coming from a very specific place in terms of how the Afro tradition was manifested, where he's from, which is very important. And then you would hear like the more generalized, because they had a very, they were like maroonage. Maroons is like, we up in the bush, we are away from everybody. So the culture would have seeded differently there, and they also had, and correct me if I'm wrong, you all had a lot of Haitians coming after the revolution.
We have some.
So after the revolution, a lot of the Haitians went to Parliament, which is why the Creole lived there so strongly. There are obviously others that you could tell.
All the areas in Parliament are named after, except Parliament, because that is Spanish. But what I'm saying that we have Caco, which is Coco, we have Mon Espoir, La Vichy, we have La Bapere, we have Mia, and all of these names and areas are Creole words, you know. And
so that's a testament to our Haitian thing. But just so I don't want to cut here, the jab, so he's given you the levels of jab.
Yeah, because you ask about jab, right?
Yeah, the
jab
levels of jab. But I just throwing in the part about the bookman. The bookman, everything about, people have this concept that the mass that we create is the slaves see the white people or the enslavers doing a thing, and we decide to mock.
Yeah.
It's a much more complicated relationship than that. It could also be seen, like for example, when they were stripping away religion, right? Religious pantheons of gods are similar across all cultures. Shango is the lord of, in the African diaspora, the Yoruba expression is the god of thunder and a lightning god. In Norwegian thing, that is who?
Thor.
That is Thor. In Greek is who? That is Zeus. So you see, when you start to go down now and you go into the Hinduism, who have many gods, so it's really attributes that we're talking about. So when the enslaved people were told, well, you cannot practice your religion here, you are not Roman Catholic or you're Catholic, they would then say, yes, I am praying to St. Michael, okay, yeah. But they're talking to Ogun. You know what I mean?
Iron God,
the Iron God and all of these, iron and other things. But we had to find ways to hide and to mask what we were doing and find the correlations real quick to keep waiting. So that is why some of the mass, yes, it was a submersive mass where we mocking you, but we also found ways to input our ideals into a thing. So I'm adding to his concept of what we call jab, because jab is also Caribbean wide. They celebrate it in all the islands, right? Even Peru has a jab mass. New Orleans has a jab mass. In New Orleans, they have a carnival around their time, and when they're about to do their opening ritual, you see men come out in the horns. And because I'm really fascinated why we're supposedly Christian and God-fearing people, and there is this fascination with demonology or devils.
Yeah.
And what I've come up with is that you black and you're ugly, you are not of God. But we know we know God, and we know, and what you're doing is not of God. So we black and we ugly, well, all right, we's wherever we is not that God all they're talking about. We's the next thing. So you kind of lean into it. It's called othering. If you tell a community or a group of people that they're different, they will find similarities amongst themselves and say we are the others. That's where gangs and various types of pockets of communities show up. You tell we will find strength in our own cornerness.
They bond based on the
isolation
or the isolation.
Right. So we black, we ugly, we not good. All right. Well, all right. You know, we is Yeah. So that's some of the
and you see that in a lot of the, some of the creative communities now, where it's almost to the extreme. It's like, okay, well, I am against the societal norms, and because I'm going against that, and we are collective now of like-minded in that going against the social norms, that we are going to continue to fight this quote-unquote oppression, or as in Caribbean we like to say the Babylon, and things like that. But sometimes though in those same in that same thinking, sometimes it could become dangerous, because sometimes you go so far right that you lose focus on what is the mission, what is the purpose, what is the real good I'm supposed to be doing it.
And these reasons evolve, but you were saying something.
Oh no, but what I meant was the actual rhythm is what connects everything together. The drumming, right? And the chanting, because we have that too. It's just in a different space and different sound. But the element of that carnival feel, because you just always hear it from some random person, wait boy, how is feeling so? Even when Keegan sing, you could tell the spirit one time, If I start to knock a pan for you one time, you start to jump your shoulders.
No, you do. And
that is the connectivity of all our cultures. But when it comes to the jab connection, that is a worldwide thing. So,
but Steffi, let me tell you something. As you pointed that out, right? There are times, and I would admit it. You see that whole, like you see when Keegan sings, or you hear that, and they're coming through, and you're moving. You ask yourself, there are times that I go, am I being possessed, brother? Like I need to get away from here, boy, because it seems like I'm going down this road, but. That's not the reality. The reality is we just connecting with some sort of ancestral.
Different people have, so I'll give you a quick experience. I don't get too deep into it, but like on you're watching a sci-fi show, X-Men or something, and the story is some people don't know, they're hiding that there's mutants, right? So they don't want the government to catch them and things. So, but when you do certain things, the power within them that just come out now and just had to pull it in, right?
Men in black.
It's not to hide up yourself. Yeah. So you have a lot of people out here walking around who I use this word, I call them the force sensitive. Force sensitive meaning that the veil between them and an unseen realm is thinner than most people. So I see people catch power when they hear certain drums, or there's people who say, I can't go around that drum. When you're in this game, you just meet people like that. So like sometimes I will sing and the drums running, and they have to go and they have a crew over there ready to deal with that woman who catch it, or this man who it has happened. Those are called force sensitive, very close. Some of them don't know that they're like that, so they have a reaction. And if you do know that you're like that, then you have your personal protocols that you have, your little bag, your little things. If when you catch it, you know to catch back yourself, or your sister, or your brother, or your husband, or your wife, know what to do for you when you. And sometimes you just mightn't go wrong it, right? But it have people. So
you are getting possessed in a sense, then.
Possession is not the word I would use.
Right.
What's the word you'd use?
I would use as I say, force sensitive. It don't just happen just so.
So it's an activation more than
activation, a connection, a
because the way you say to catch back yourself means I don't have to come back into my body.
Back to yourself.
Yeah. That's exactly. And I don't want to do that.
So the word zombie in our culture is not zombie. like Haitians. And now I can't even say Haitian because zombie has been taken from Haiti and weaponized in Hollywood, right? But Jumbie in Trinidad and Tobago, when you first hear the word Jumbie, it talks about undead something that you can't see. Basically, our word for a ghost from the cemetery, right? But what's up, Jumbie? Me now, boy. Jumbie is like harassing an unseen force, bothering. Jumbie has many things, but it really means
Jamaicans call it, I forget it is called a
Duppy.
A duppy.
a duppy, right? So, but our word Jumbie is a verb, is a noun, is an adjective, you know. You know,
no Jumbie, man.
I think it loses its original sense because of
it's a lose, you know. It's a lose because our language is diverse. One thing don't mean one thing.
Correct.
In Trinidad and Tobago, in the Caribbean and a whole, but one thing, we have the looseness of our language. Our language is powerful. We have to understand, when you go amongst English and you might feel to speak a little bit of the Queen's English and all that, you know what I mean? Yeah, sometimes you have to hold back yourself and talk how you, because the expression you have could say something that the English or the French can't say that you're trying to say as a Caribbean man.
You know, funny enough, yesterday I was talking to some people and they were saying that, you know, we have language and in our vernacular that no one else in the world would understand, like the word excuse. You know, that you say excuse so often, excuse me, and it's not an English word or I'm saying.
Yeah,
or the fact that we start off in other words in a sentence when we use it, we actually get younger, like Benjamin, but you know, we might say, man, I went down the road and if you see this girl boy, you know, so you're gone from man to boy, and it's things that you can't.
What about the word ent?
Ent.
What does ent? Ent is a powerful word running right now.
Correct. You can't, but there's a song Ent, you know, and it's we're proud to be Trini, as we said.
See, what you're saying there is that we talk about especially Trinbagonians and the Caribbean on a whole, we have high context language, right? Now, if we go with context is a feeling, context is a energy, context is also a sense. Now, all of those things, if we want to use it from a spiritual point of view, it is we have a connection in some way. Because when I say ent, you know what I mean, right? Now, if we come with culture when we do something, even though sometimes people might know what to get activate in them, the culture and the sense is still there. And I'm glad they clarifying a lot of this, because sometimes some people don't understand the importance of culture. And that culture carry a psychology, it carry a spirit, right? And sometimes we're afraid to say that, we're afraid to say spirit, but it carry a spirit, it carry a energy with it. Or whatever we want to say it, the spirit possessing us or it activating. I like activating because that's what it's kind of doing. When you hear drum, is activate something in you.
Here's why I'm careful with possess, right? I'm not saying that external energy does not enter one, right? But we have to understand what words mean now. For example, the word woke. About 15 years ago, woke was a powerful word. That was a word that guided me to certain things. Hey, guys, stay woke. You know, it was a black word that we use.
Gay.
Right? Yeah, gay is happiness, right? But, you know, not it's different things. But woke meant open your eye, open your third eye in particular, and start studying where you need to start studying, right? Now is a whole next thing. So when I say possess, the first thing people are going to see is that show where the lady thing, you know? And the first thing you're going to see, right? That is what words does do. Words does create image. So it is not that there isn't some type of, because people in the African tradition and even the Hindu traditions of worship, it is encouraged to be embodied by a force. It is.
I'm telling you, like Parman, I could tell you when they coming down, I start to, and I shrugging my shoulder, and I going down the road, but every now and again I want to check myself to say, Rob, you're going into
So let me ask you a
here.
question. I could ask anybody for Trinidad if all you feel is mad thing we talking. I want you to go now. Start at the top of Chagrit Road and walk straight around town, reach down, chip. You can chip if you want. No music, no nothing, and reach quiet down by
Not happening for most people. In hot sun.
In hot sun. Do it now. What time it is? Do it now. Versus next year. What make you do that?
12 o'clock hot sun.
What make you do that? What make you do that? Your
Music
foot
catcher.
hurting. It's not the music alone, but that's the next thing I want to say. It's not the
Because
music.
you ain't getting time to eat food properly.
Yeah, it's not the music. Listen, Carnival is a time that energy
Marcus.
does wake up, right? And we all consciously participate in a social slipstream. It's a movement of the collective mind in a particular direction, and when we move in together, the music is a simulation of that. The music helps, but the camaraderie is our next thing. What we drinking, what we ideal is, where's the band, what direction and what time, because Juve is a timing, so everything is a time. It's timing. And why Carnival short next year? Because we're watching something, we're watching our moon, we're watching, so it's crazy is what it is.
Yeah.
If we really stop, you want to say, to ask yourself what we're doing, and it's not just Carnival alone I'm talking about. There are two sides to everything in life. There's what you're seeing and what you're not seeing. And currently in our phase of life, because we're here, we are studying the next part.
Where's misdirection? Misdirection, which is a whole other thing, but I'm glad even Johan say you brought up about the, giving a closer and a better understanding of culture, not just any culture of stick fighting or the culture of Blue Devils. And I want to remember, because like I told you, I'm like a sponge. I like to retain certain things. And you had mentioned it's not you don't call it jab molasses, you call it Jablé, which is Blue Devils, right? And so I want to be able to use, just like in hiking, when I go to an area and the villagers tell me the correct name for it, I like to continue by telling people this is the right name. So I would like to start saying Jablé so that people start to understand the difference. Because you're right, jab molasses would have been what molasses, which is kind of like, apart from the oil, what we would really see nowadays, even in like Grenada, etc. But in the culture, the importance of culture, which is something that we are very proud of. We love to talk about these things and say these are this is us. How are we seeing that impacting the community and bring it back to manhood and men's health? How do you see that in a positive way influencing young men, not only understanding the culture, because that culture brings pride. That knowledge that I learned today from you guys has me in a whole other level of pride that I could go back now and explain to other people or talk outside as to what this is, so that they're no longer knowledge is power. And to see that and to realize that the environment that you are creating, even though it's one of chaos, is actually a safe environment to be in. And it comes from a lot of culture. Control chaos. But also it comes from a really deep place that I'm now aware of, as opposed to just thinking, it's
because I hear the story, I hear some summary of the story, but hearing from you all now in terms of breaking it down, that gives me a whole different appreciation. And I say not to, because that means besides having on a wide scale culture, you all as men, and I think all of us men supposed to have a culture of our own in some way now. We could call it a code, we could call it values, but it's also the culture that we inculcating into ourselves now.
But even more so, what was also a moment is seeing the both of you communicating, asking the questions, having the dialogue going. And I think Johanse pointed it out. It's almost like an ancestral conversation was taking place. So that in itself was powerful. But we want to come. We want to take a short break. And Keegan, I want you to come back from the break and let us get into the impact and the positivity this is having on the community, and how other men and young boys can get involved and turn away from a life of crime or a life of unknowing. So this is Manhood. We talk about culture and community.
Wisdom is chasing you, but you are faster. Your friends are investing with First Line. This one have house, this one building business. You, my son, hey, you are buying rims.
My enemies have succeeded.
It's not too late, my son. Call First Line. Secure your future today so we do not hang our heads in shame. I'll call First Line now.
Wisdom says it's never too late to take control of your finances. First Line Securities, helping Trinidad and Tobago invest for over 2 decades. Invest with us. Go to firstlinesecurities.com to begin investing today.
tell them all this stink and dirty, stink and dirty. Viking. Double M. Hey. You free them, but run for your life. You free them, you see this, see this, see. You free them, but run for your life. You free them. They come out of boss man. The blues they melting like they want a boss man.
This is Manhood, and we're talking community and culture. For me, calendar offers a space of belonging for men, right? Men and women, to be honest. But if we're talking men and the expression of manhood, they are different. When you look at statistics, and you could speak to this like a social sample, like you have an area. They talk about different samples within a community. You'll have about 75 to 80% of the community are what we call normal, sociable individuals, right? They're not nobody trying to jump off a cliff or run down the biggest hog in the forest, right? Then you have our next 20%, like let me say 15% of the community born, they are a little more excitable, and have a 1% who will go off in the bush by himself and hunt down the dreadest lion, and it's like he will come back with it on his back. Not everybody is like that, right? So the special forces, the army, they have very specific recruitment principles to find people. So the man who elevates himself to a certain aspect in the army is not the average guy anyway. So the military and other types of organizations have a way of finding these outliers within a community. There are other types of outliers in a community amongst men. Not everybody wants to be an accountant or a doctor. You have some fellas who their energy levels is for something else, right? In the old days, they would have put them young fellas in the war tribe to deal with oncoming threat, or they have a war party led by Johanse to go on, not a war party, a hunting party, to go on 3-week expeditions and come back. Yeah. I might be on it, my brother mightn't be on it, because we're two different men, right? So when you have things like calendar and even the Blue Devil or the jab traditions themselves within our culture, certain people will go towards that, right? When we remove things like that have a structure to safely manage these energies, now you have water with no place to go. So I have belly, as a belly man, but I want to deal with you, instead that we sort it out as a community, because you have a community space now to deal with that. Now the community space is the streets. Now the community space is my block versus your block. You understand what I'm saying? So this is why I feel like not just stick fighting, but combat sports on a whole has its place amongst young men. Right? There are those, and the Guile teaches you that. In the Guile, you have these fighters, this space for the fighters. It have men who will fight. It have men who will drum, who could drum. It have men who could sing. I have men who come to watch. Not everybody watching football and hey, Mbappe. Them men want to play football. They want to watch it. They enjoy buying the jersey. So when you look at the community now, it have a place for everybody once you have key things in place.
You know, you mentioned even about in the stick fighting, because at the start you were talking about control and being in environments of, you know, like in this particular case where there's a place to release almost. And in my experiences watching stick fighting, even you know, was predominantly yourself, there's a respect even in there. So it's not a case of you go in there and there's a release and you could just gotta beat each other with a stick. There are moments where once I think it is you raise your hands or you raise the stick, you stop. So nobody's still coming at you. You know, there's a discipline to it.
There is discipline, right? The discipline is, if I fail here, I could get my head bust, I could lose my eye, I could dead. So that's the first thing. When you have to face life and that in small pockets, every wrongs, that is change you, right? Even if it's in a gamified way, the consequence is the same. You could come out of here different. I have come out of the Guiles that I've been in different, you know, both physically and otherwise. And that's because you're facing this thing. And when you look at it, because it's we Trini thing and they see it as a martial discipline.
Is that why you call it a belly man?
Huh?
You said you would use the word belly man.
No, that belly man is, the road they say our belly.
Fearless person.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. That's why, because you have to have a belly. I'm not going to say you have to have a belly to step into that.
Listen, let me tell you, sometimes you have a belly to even watch it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a different kind of belly.
Because to me, stick fighting, to just segue, to me, stick fighting, I mean, I know you don't have punishment again in schools like licks. But when you see the dean come with a go of a stick, and then my dad taking me to see stick fighting, I used to tell him, I say, but that looking like what used to happen to me in school.
Yeah.
I get lashed
The
with stick.
difference in that now, you can decide to not take the lash by breaks in, you gotta learn to breaks.
Right.
So the technical aspect of stick fighting is where the discipline comes in. You have to learn to hit and you have to learn to breaks. And say if you can't breaks, don't play. Which simply mean those community for them game, if you feel like you gotta learn to breaks.
Yeah, but Keegan, you're also then trying to then find ways now, because even if you're breaking with the stick, you're now coming with a stick that, you're trying to find a stick that could bend. So as you breaks, it could bend.
No, right. So that part, the bending part is that's not true.
Right. Okay.
So I'll break it down real quick. We currently use a stick called, the word is pui. The beautiful pui tree. Make that. The reason they use that is because it's a very strong, hard, and reliable stick. If a man hits it with power, the stick can't take the pressure, it'll break. But it wouldn't shatter. Why you would want a stick that will shatter? If a man penetrates your stick so hard like a sword, and it go through, it will still hit you. When a push break, it is the fibers now. It don't come apart as quick, so it might crack, but it'll bend. But it wouldn't leave you like it's a two-piece of stick in your hand per se. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It had a thing, and before you could.
It'll flex out.
Yeah, it'll flex a little bit the fiber. So that is a safety issue. Why that stick is a stick of choice.
What kind of belly you talking about? There, go in there. I will play my Blue Devils.
Yeah, I'm not going to play ball.
I will play my Blue Devils.
I like what you're saying about the technical part of it, because sometimes when people look at things from the not only your craft, but things in general. Many men, things what men do, sometimes men in whatever you're doing have a technicality to it.
Of course.
Right? Whether he is a cleaner, right? It has some people and some cleaning companies have technical things. Whether he is an engineer, whoever it is, each man have to bring their culture with them, which have a certain technicality to it. So I like that you all sharing.
What I would say, and Steffi, I hear Steffi say it a lot, where he talks about that respect for the elders and what the community have to say. You'll say, me study nobody. Nah, it's not like that. I love stick fight because of the men that taught me stick fight. My teachers is really why I love stick fight. I mean, I like the game before.
I want to pause on that because I don't feel that you were able to really clarify with me, because I want to come into that about the importance of elders and history, because you find a lot of the younger generation now are not considered with where, see, like how I was fascinated with where those stories came from. A lot of them are just interested in now. Like, okay, I doing this now, or this impact me now, or if it doesn't impact me, I don't care about the fact that you as stick fighters are now responsible for me playing pretty mass. That is there for a reason. So I want to go into that, but I just wanted to clarify for me. So you explained to me about the pui, right? And that the makeup of the pui stick does not allow it to break.
Yeah.
But I know you probably really want to clarify why the bending
so
is a myth.
The bending is a myth because it did exist. So you're not wrong, right? There's a stick called the Anna tree, which the bushman here, it's so nice looking. Real jungle listener.
But I tell you, the man
real jungle listener.
You will pass that bush. You will pass that in the bush.
So Anna is something that grows above 2,000 feet or something. Because I know when I go to Elder Kucha.
Anna in Parliament. But there are anarrays in the boulder forest.
Right, like in what you call elfin woodland, which is
and it looks like a broad leaf. You will pass that straight. It's looking flexible.
It's like
a water. Like a vine.
Yeah.
You pass this. That is what you call an anarray, because the nuts in it is like this.
Right, and each nut tells you the age of the shoe.
And that is where the
bushman,
where it take the shape of your back, because if it connects here, it will shape around here.
And that woman, so it have a very.
So that is no band.
It have a popular stick man. I don't call his name. But he's a man. They'll always wrap his stick full black tape. And men know that man coming with that shot.
really?
I watch me here afraid and he coming, waiting for you to hit that shot. Bash, and when you leg out that shot and your breaks, you still get.
All in your back.
He just waiting for that one shot. Because he know what he going to do that, going to reach and wrap around your back. So it is not, it is, so the game has rules. It has things that you're not supposed to do. But what that game teach me about life is that it's really life. It have a lot of things we're not supposed to do, but it could happen anyway. So the game teach you that a man not supposed to hit you in your groin or hit you on your foot, but how much time a man get lashed in the groin, how much time a man get lashed in places he's not supposed to get lashed with. You still have to come prepared. I went in the guy a few years ago with an expectation, with a prestige schoolboy expectation of what this is and you know, like the honor code that I saw on an anime the other night type shit. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like you're telling yourself, oh well, we'll all both bow and we'll have honor and type shit. Nah, that man was looking for it. He was looking for fame. He wanted to bust Keegan till I had that. The man who ride bus said, like when I finished, and he did it because I went in there thinking, well, you know, first of all, his grandfather taught both of us real TV thing. But I don't want you all fighting each other, blah, blah. So I go in the ring now. I say, I don't want to fight that man. You fight the man. I go fight the next man. Because honor, you know? Grandfather said, don't fight him. He didn't care about that. When a man come at me like you know, thing is good. And I lie down on the ground afterwards. Really, like literally.
And that's really important what you say, you know, because many times, that's why I think it's important for every man, whatever form that take, to have a boy to man, to have a rite of passage, to go out there and experience something. I know we talk about this, Robert, you went to our next country, similar to that. Many men have different ways that the rite of passage, because there's a difference between thinking you know about something and actually experiencing it now.
The bossed is that,
putting yourself right, and putting bossed could be literal, it could be figurative. Because everybody had to get bossed doing whatever it is they're doing.
And
at
you see,
some
it comes
time.
back to the blood hole that you were talking about, because the blood hole is an ancestral point where whoever get cut, blood had to go there in remembrance of those who bled before and whatever, right? And it also speaks to no man bigger than the blood.
It could be how far up.
You understand what I'm saying? And every stick man with his salt, and I had to learn that there. Because when I get cut, I felt all kind of thing. I couldn't, and I was big on all your papers. Front page of the Guardian when I get my head bust. I mean, and I'm like, wait, boy, I can't walk outside again, boy. And I was right around the same time I ride busted, so the man who ride busted get your head bust. It was the worst experience of my life as a stick fighter, I could tell you, right? But then,
but it's just weird how you know, people see things totally differently, because you're saying it from a perspective of you couldn't go outside, the shame and all the rest of it. And I still looking at it from the perspective of Dan, that is big man thing.
Same thing. I remember it, I remember, and I didn't even know it was you now connecting who it is, because I look at that as respect. Like
I'm not looking at, I'm not doing that.
You see, that was me. I blend between the goal of mainstream carnival writing for Marshall and Bunch, and then I am my own world with these fellas. So in my world, I mean, you know, I studying that because I playing on top, I winning, and then the day
so amongst your peers, you might feel a bit of shame. But to the general public, I mean, I'd have been like, well, if for you to talk to me, you have to step to me, and to step to me, I'd have been the guy else.
It's only after that, our sister, her name is Lisa, she said, within our community, the reason why you feel that way is because there's nobody to pick you up and say, well, you reach. Now, you know, because before that, I never get blooded. I played for 6 years before anybody cut me, right? And when I get blooded now, the community was not there to, at that time, was not there to say, hey, that is a day, you get through. You know?
Okay.
Like,
but when it happens, apart from because sometimes, you know, I have seen it in various sports or things that I have done. There's no fear of something until the realization happens. So say, for example, you know, in the bush, you have all the knowledge, you're not fearful of a snake until the first time I almost get hit by one. And then all of a sudden, the thing that you weren't really scared of before because you didn't know how it would have felt or what the experience would be like, now it's on your mind. You for 6 years, it never happened. So you never knew you couldn't be in fear of what you never knew.
I mean, your face.
Did it change you after that?
Of course. When I get out, I said, I mean, I was in it changed my life figuratively in many ways, right? My relationships with people, because you get to realize there are a lot of people who glad to see you fail, and you have to deal with that. You know, I was building this archetype of the writer and the singer and the stick fighter. It was a beautiful archetype, one that I think I've recovered since then. But you know, to see that particular person get crushed, and you, God, boy, the front page, I didn't bump to do that one, but the front page is what making you.
They're going to give a page or something. Yeah.
It's like that person, that writer was waiting for me, boy. Like, it had other men had get bust that night, you know, but my face alone.
Now they waiting to pull it on.
That would feel, right? But I recovered. I went into a dark shadow. It's called shadow work. I had to do shadow work to come out of it. And when I came out of it, I went and do, because from a platform calendar collective, I doing archiving of stick fighters. So the same men I'm fighting against is men I just sit down and talk to and interview them. So one of the men I interview, his name is Daniel Barkley. I know Daniel playing, from when I come out, Daniel was playing years before I come out. And I come out over 18 years now. And Daniel playing amongst the greats. And one thing Daniel say, watch me, as a stick man, you can't afraid to get cut in. Cut is normal. You get cut now, you go and you cover your head and you go out again. And you have 3 more bouts. I didn't know about that. To me, when you get cut, you're done. That is the day. Them fellas, and this is how these players play. When you get cut, all right, I lost this bout. Yeah, I ain't dead. Let me
but
again.
Keegan, rules are rules, and they tell you what you need to do. But the reality is, until you actually get the first lash, you don't know how you're gonna feel. You know, after that, you could tell yourself, okay, I've come back from this before, and continue in it. But if I inside there and you tell me, no, Rob, you're safe, them fellas know what to do. They ain't go hit you, and by mistake, you know, I'm not just like you say, want to make the paper and say, but I don't care about what Keegan say, but this man want to play coming in.
I to cut Robert. I want a coconut.
Correct. And I get a foot, but let me tell you something.
And men will do that, because
if Blackie Chan don't come out, something else coming out.
I'm telling you, men will do that because that's the same Jambi we'll be talking about. Me and you right here, I've heard my teachers and Congo them talk like earlier in the day. Everybody make a pot, they make a pilau, everybody cooking together. And as soon as the drum knock, a man drink a puncheon or something, and you see the girl who you eyeing from, you know, all of a sudden you get a time to show off. Do you remember the chemical cocktail in here talk about? It's like, it's a whole next man. But what going on with you, boy? And then after, oh God, boy, sorry, boy. And
so that man in football is take red card just for the team, you know. Or it happens. So my thing is, again, I'm coming back to Keegan. I not stepping in no guy else.
So, and this is, I'll close it. I will at least round off that point in terms of the skill aspect of it. We do train. You have to train to learn how to breaks. You have to train to learn how to hit. You have attack tactics, just like a boxer or any combative. You know, it have tactics, it have strategies. There's personal control, controlling of your breathing, controlling your mind, timing. All of these elements are there to look like something I might just see 2 men go bash, and that is it. But there are some beautiful flurries of exchanges between men. You know, some real top players. The top right now in terms of winning the crown this year is Selwyn John. Second this year is Anderson Makano. He was the winner from last year before, and I am 3rd place this year. So you know, it have some fighters who reach that top level because, you know, it's skill. It's not luck, right? It is the ability to see. When a wall is seen, but what we seen, I remember I was telling somebody about my experience this year because I hadn't gone to Guile for such a long time, and again, present in the moment. Or like you right there, Robert, and I hear, and I just remember, all right, okay, cool. He think he foot so right, I see him. All right, he goes, all right, nice. Is he raising his hand? I go and raise my left hand, and then I'll go so, whoop, and I'll just blank out, and then I'll just remember coming back here. And then you see the playback is 3, 4. All right, okay, cool. All right, think you can do the next. All right, that man coming out. Next one. I think, all right, I'll go to the left. All right, I'm going to run down on him. Nice, he breaks, pow, and then you just blank out again. And then you come back. So, you know, and it's like the subconscious or the training takes over, among other things.
You're watching only man foot. This time I just think to myself, want to block. That stick coming. And when that stick come, I trying to hit you back. I not studying your foot movements.
You gotta study all of that.
Kicking you everything.
And that's where the game comes in now.
You want to say? My kick was all kind of if you come to me.
And just I want to segue to Steffi because I personally believe that them job and them fellas us be doing is an extension of our warrior culture.
Yeah.
Because the same flow state that we go into when we in the Gael to fight a man, them fellas playing job do be here. They do be present, and that's our stuff we to talk on that.
But we talking about these things, and I want to bring it full circle, because we haven't spoken about things like the art of the fire breathing. That in itself is something phenomenal. When people have spoken to who've done it for, whether it be for news and for all these other things. When it come at carnival, all the focus is on these things, and everybody wants to try it. But I want to find out a bit, as we talk about the culture, to wrap it up really into how do young men get involved in these things, and I want you to debunk some of the myths so that people could understand that in your various communities, in Paramin, in the various communities for stick fighting, whether it be Maruga and these areas that in certain cases have, as we talk about the spiritual realm, have that both positive and a negative towards it. How do we debunk some of those things and recognize that how important, not just for the individual cultures, but how important is culture and community for Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, the way I see it, as Keegan said first, there's a flow state. The people who are in depth, the passionate people, right? They have a flow state that they enter when they're doing the craft. I am not see it, I feel it. He feel it too. It don't matter what you do, there's a blank out spot, and you will be doing something that is not human-like, or the people never see that in their life. The way how I move, but I move as a band, and I control a band, so I actually in that warrior state feeling and controlling, hey, you go so, watch this person, do that, do this. And it all happens unfolding naturally, right? And then when I breathe fire, because fire was not the first thing Blue Devils started with. That was evolution. Wings was evolution. So the beginning was just a man.
So let me just to pause there. You are, again, you said something there. You as a leader, you're coming through what to me just seems like a crowd coming through and everybody doing their own thing. You are controlling, you are there, you're observing all of these things.
Even the pan, I know when it's to raise the pan, when it's to drop the pan, when it's to stop it.
So like you said, control chaos. In all of that, you're observing everything that is happening.
Yeah, because
around
I'm also watching the Patreons, because you come to entertain people also. So you have to use them as real live props. And if I interact with the camera, then everybody alongside here is also witnessing the performance and is a part of the performance, So that is where I study the control part and the flow state of it. We also make it interesting, because job is gender neutral, right? So we don't say men or women. We know the first woman was Luan Boisseau. She was the first Blue Devil in Paramin, because it was not. The men at that point in time didn't like women doing things, honest to God. And from that being the tomboy, that broke that cycle. Now my wife is one of the baddest Blue Devils you'll see, fire breathers, right? So that make it interesting. So the youths now gravitate into that. They like to breathe fire and they like to take pictures and be in paintings and stuff. But the discipline behind it, right, is where they don't understand. So when they come by me, I'll teach them disciplines about flashpoints and thing and get geeky with them. Because people think it's just to pick up anything and just breathe it. But when I start to talk about flashpoints and different combustions and thing and materials, then you will think, there's a Blue Devil, what are you talking about? You're supposed to be getting on wild, But I don't burn nobody. I don't burn no place, And there are specific things that even if you see me breathing fire, it's just sure to see a fire extinguisher man following me. He will be seen, because even if he don't make himself seen, he's there.
Yeah,
if something is to happen.
Again, you think this is just some madness going on.
No, there are a lot of Blue Devils, but not, when you see all Blue Devils, it's not me. Is our next level. Our persistence is on the next level of professionalism and getting it out in the right way.
Okay. So two things, Steffi, I would ask is, one, because again, like everything else, you have to come to a wrap up. Yeah. But I would ask you, one, apart from imparting your knowledge with these young men or kids or anyone that comes, because you said it's gender neutral, what is some of the outside of the specific cultural knowledge, what are some of the things that you try to impart on them, to whether it be to be better or to be part of community? And then further to that, how can people listening on get involved?
Okay, so during the carnival season, especially the height of carnival season, in the carnival week, we call it, right? From Wednesday to the next Wednesday. Lack of sleep, lot of alcohol, and limited food, right? I always tell my team, the word is de-escalation. Do not be emotionally reactive, because there are a lot of people lacking sleep just like us. A lot of people you might misunderstand just like us. So whatever it is that you meet, have a positive impact on that person. And if you meet them stressed out, just de-escalate. If you can't de-escalate it, call me. I'll help you. I'll show you and guide you. Because I have been through carnivals and I've not seen violence. According to a pan man, one of the day, I ain't even seen a man get a hard slap self to say, well, he see it in that distance, right? So that is how come I show carnival have a very safe space. I ain't saying it have a lot of salop still looking to bust your chain, and make it uncomfortable for visitors. But tourism is a very important thing. There are countries based on that alone. And we have so much diversity. We taking this carnival for granted, So I just try to tell youths, because they are youths, because my son and all, he just be there. De-escalation. And do not be emotionally reactive, even to your peers, Even if you don't like that scene, don't just go and say, and embarrass the man, We could talk about it as men, and if you have a problem, come and talk to me, because a lot of...
What's one of those things, apart from what you're in character, but what are one of those things that you say you would go to de-escalate? Because outside of carnival, we experience that in many areas of our life.
Yeah.
And, where you might be in a bar or somebody just come up to you and say something, or you bump somebody the wrong way, and, you didn't say excuse. What is something that... is it just in character that you could de-escalate, or what? No,
this is before we even go into blue, right? Because we pray before we go and do anything. We ask for guidance, because we're going to do a lot of high risk maneuvers and high risk stuff. We're going to be in environments that could possibly be violent. But so something about to kick off. What is something that you would do? I've end up in situations close to that, but most of the times I would just say, listen, we need to listen, calm down and calm, and try to get an understanding of the situation, and not, even if you don't understand, or even if you in the right, sometimes it's just alcohol, sometimes it's just lack of sleep.
Look at that.
Sometimes imagine you don't know why it is.
Imagine the devil calming people down.
Yeah.
And that is what people misconcepted me being blue and bawling and screaming, right? Because we all come here to do our purpose.
Remember their masses. I want you to tell them before you wrap, because we have a film together.
Right.
My film company.
Yeah.
Did that interview, and we did a film called Play the Devil, which is now in Caribbean Tales Film Festival in Toronto in September. And I don't know if I told you.
Also.
We are currently in Harlem. The film is showing, and his work is our work is being displayed in Harlem in Cadiz, which is one of the oldest Caribbean American Black history and diaspora in America. It's like over 50, 60 years old. So our work is there. So we just came from Harlem to do some work there. Yeah. And now, and if I told you, but we are also now in Toronto Film Festival. So interviewing my brother here, I was able to learn certain things, and I'm very, I like the idea of how. Tell them the story of why it became St. Michael and how St. Michael came.
So the reason why we say blue, we perform blue, is because they believed when they sent St. Michael, the archangel, to defeat Satan, he did not go angelic. He went as a devil, because he had to bypass a lot of devils, right? And he couldn't go to explain things anymore. It was war. So it was not peaceful anymore. That was a long time. That was in the past, after all the peace talks. This is now, and we come to fight. So you have to be a warrior, and that is
this is why I say
of St. Michael.
Jab is an extension of our warrior tradition.
So when you, as you see, to touch that, because normally you think devil red, but you're saying that he had to dress up as a devil. So
devil does look just like this, nice and inviting. Because if the devil used to really look ugly, who would I go to him? Who would I listen to him? Nobody. A devil just come nice and charming. Nice words.
I find you looking too dapper there. I find you looking too dapper there. Next year I'm going out. I'll leave it there.
So modern day, is in modern day, that this is what they would explain. Because the people think devil have horns and things. You don't really see that. People that run real far. You want you close now. Come and hold my hand. I go get you through this.
Yeah,
you know, I'll make you feel safe. And then when you do check it out, and it make it warm.
Correct.
So even within the existence of this art form, it is a teacher. Because that is how, like I carried my son to meet Mother N2 the other day, and she was telling him a story in the form of a story. But ultimately, the story was something about different girls telling a man pretty things, and the woman who told him the prettiest thing, she took him and she turned into something and she go on with him, right? Now, that's a story. But when I listened to this story, what she was really teaching him, and I wish somebody had teach me that when I was small, is that not every pretty face that smile at you is for you.
Every fancy word.
You know? So in the form of stories and characters, in our culture, we have teachable moments that... Like, what is the importance of Papa Boy? At the very least is to have respect for the forest or something would interfere with you.
Yep.
And if you are wrong hunters, you're going to know everyone that we have a hunter who meet Papa Boy.
I meet a lot of men, and that man really, because I can tell you why it is different men who never meet in their life have the same description of this man. And it was, some of them, well, most of the men who I speak to are hunting ethics. They hunting ethics good. They ain't going to just watch a bush shaking and they shoot that and when they catch something, you know, they're watching to see what they get. And then they when they encounter Papa Boa, it was because that man was looking for somebody. And the person who was there died at the point in time, you know? So, and it was a collective of stories of Papa Boa and everybody describing this man, and none of them meet in my life, like in the lifetime now. That was mind-blowing. That's how come I know for sure this thing will.
Let me tell you, we could, like I tell you, these conversations could go on and on and on. I mean, it's interesting because as you bring up folklore, I have a lot of my own thoughts on folklore and conversations as to why. But like you said, nobody's saying whether it's real or not real, but a lot of it was, you know, the stories also come with ways like Dwayne and so to keep you away from the shores so that children won't go and run into the water.
It's different purpose, but ideally, as you talk about community, a community is nothing without its story. And its storytellers.
Exactly.
Trinidad's stories are different from Guyana's stories, it's different from Aruba's story, and this is how we truly have identity, because our stories give us identity. Really and truly. Where's your story, Robert? X, Y, and Z. Keegan, where's your Hansi, where's your story? We all have a story. And that's
now, if you ask it, you know, they always say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Now, if you say, what's your story, boy? Well, that's different to saying, you know,
what's your story?
What's your story? And I want to hear your story. That type of thing, as opposed to something.
And both of them ask the same thing. Where's your stories right up?
All of a sudden, I look at the draw for my boy. So gents, I mean, Johan said, I don't know if you have any closing thoughts.
Yeah.
Because I want Keegan to lead us off in one of those all right, those powerful songs.
My thoughts. Every man, every boy to be a man, and every man to mature have to go through a guile, right? The guile of life. You're going in the ring, whatever walk of life you are, some kind of battle all of us men have to fight. Also, what you're saying, whatever fight the man deciding to do, you have to be professional about it. You have to understand the history of it to make sure that you're doing yourself justice and you're doing those before you. Whether it is you're taking over a business, you're doing what your family used to do, or you're creating your new path for yourself. Because that is the culture you're building, and that is the story you're building for yourself.
Right. Sefi?
Well, it was a pleasure being here, speaking to you guys, because men don't speak publicly. You know,
stop saying that. We speak in public a little more.
A lot of men don't do that. So these public spaces are very, very welcome to me, especially because that brings the thought process outside, the things that men not accustomed saying to each other, and the openness. When it comes to opening now, men could be more open to saying, this thing, but I know, boy. And a man will say, boy, I'm to you now, boy. Cool yourself now.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, man up now, boy. Them are the thing you're complaining for, And sometimes somebody just need to vent. So either be somebody who willing to listen, or speak to somebody. Be the willing person to do either or, Because sometimes somebody just want to say, you don't even need to understand. Just listen. And that alone could help somebody,
So as you say
keep
about
that
suffering in silence, and more men need to speak up, and also in speaking up. A lot of times people say, but speak up and men need to talk. But what as a receiving party, if you are the listener, you have to learn not just to listen, but to understand that as much as ridicule and is accepted in part of our culture and peacock, there's a limit.
It's just to
so that
quiet
instead
sometimes.
of saying, "Was your story, boy?" really be interested in what is their
Tell me,
story.
what's their story,
Yeah.
And tell me what.
For me, manhood in itself has various expressions. I've seen teaching, I've taught by now thousands of children over the last 10 years. I've seen boys that people would say is not masculine. And when they pick up the stick, they're dancing and they're hitting and they're dangerous, just like, you understand what I'm saying? I've seen boys who tend towards more burly styles, of masculine. There are different, routes towards what manhood means. But one thing in that, you talk about the peacock. Sometimes we think when a man listening to it had to be peacockish. I telling you, I sit in here because of the men who have listened to me kindly. You know what I mean? Like, bro, I really go into here, check me. Go in the fridge. Let me talk. You know what I mean? And you could call a certain brethren. You ain't calling him 12 o'clock in the night to tell him, have a good night. You know what I mean? But you call him, he's like, yo, just don't listen to you, and sometimes remind you of who you are, remind you of the community that you belong to. One of the things that when I teach, I have a calendar class, and sometimes after class, men didn't want to go home because it's as we now finish beat drum, we now finish play.
Look at it right.
Men want to talk.
We don't want to leave.
Yeah, want to talk. You know what I mean? Because we don't have let me tell you, growing up, you see the barber shop on the block. We had them thing. You go, you in business with our 4 men in front of you because the talk in the barber shop going so sweet.
There's a whole day.
We don't have much to go and do in the barber shop again too,
Well, my days for that done.
But the barber shop or the block, and you saw a systematic removal of those institutions in our lives as men. At the block, the corner, where men used to sit down, wasn't what men. It wasn't what block is now. Block is a different thing.
I went to the block to look for work. I saw men was going in the garden and they say, I want a tomato to tie a cabbage. So I went to the block early to sit down there, and men going and come and hire me.
Community. So community looks different for us as men, and I just, I really want to, as Steffi say, applaud this because I know the program. I've seen it before, and it's to me is a gift to come here and to open up. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Anse, for having us because I think within our own culture, I'm very a lot of pride in we thing. As a man grew up liking Japanese martial arts and thing, and I do all them thing, and one day I say, where's my thing, boy? And when I realize where's my thing, I realize how bad it is and how cool it is. I embody it and I embrace it and I understand the stories. Like for me, calendar is just a vehicle. But the vehicle that is calendar have so many parts through the musicality. Like, how much bad man, when I tell you, really rangotango, I meet beating drum. Men from certain zone and things, you say, but it's a man, boy, yeah, but that man, like, go that life, boy, drum save real men life. The men who teach drum, a man pick up a drum, boy, when I meet so and so, I'm a Bridget hand, if you get a living love and see how much men pass through them fellas' hand. Them fellas fully capable of things that other men not capable of, but the drum is what get them opportunity to fly so and to finally see outside, and then they go on this show and they make the first 500 and they realize this little thing here, even though it's a 500 a gig,
it's legal.
It's 4 or 5 at this. Go get my 2,000 I didn't have before. I'd risk my life to get. Not only that, I'm beating on them girls and them dancing and I get to watch that all day. And as a drummer, you got your rights. You know what I mean? And it's just the energy of the community. So that drum alone, brother, before you reach the stick, before you reach the fire, the drum in the black community amongst men has been an amazing tool for that.
Let me say
Ingredient in carnival.
I'm always in awe when I get sentiments such as what you expressed, Keegan. I'm very appreciative of it. And before in the earlys, we would use the word humble a lot on the show until you really start looking at the dictionary meaning. And the dictionary meaning of humble is actually a negative. It's to really show up in your smallness.
Right.
So I start to use words more like I'm in gratitude.
Right.
So I'm in gratitude of your expression because most people may feel a particular way but not necessarily express it because they might feel I'm not on that kind of. And to say that, but what I always feel is that most people, and I try to express as much as I can on the show, and two people who pass through this show, that I am the one that's in awe. I am the one that's in gratitude and honor of the time and the information and the expression that everyone who sits in these chairs gives me. And I always feel at the end of the show, like I feel so inspired because inspiration, like rehabilitation, if you don't keep on course correcting, you're going to divert, you're going to revert straight to what you used to do before. And hearing I'm excited to go and share the knowledge that I have learned from the both of you here today to people because it's empowering. It's empowering not just because it's our culture, but I'm getting that information as well from two of the best, and not only two of the best, but the way that you articulated it and brought it across was almost TED Talk. So I'm thankful, and to say that to because I wanted to lead off in song, but just to say that. Just to remember, as we're talking about fighting, culture and community, that we're all fighting something. We mightn't be fighting the same thing at the same time, but we're all fighting something. And one collective that we have, whether in the guile or not, is that we're all fighting together. And Trinidad and Tobago, we are unique. We need to embrace that and not fight amongst one another, because the bigger fight is outside, and we need to show people what the true red, white, and black means. Culture and community. This is Manhood. Keegan, do us the honor.
No boy man afraid, no boy man afraid, no boy man afraid, no stick man, no boy man afraid, no demon, no boy man afraid, no boy man afraid, no boy man afraid, no stick man, no boy man afraid, no demon. When I listen to that song or sing that song, I remember you call yourself stick man, then you have to manage fear. You have to walk straight down. And when they say, no boy man afraid, no stick man. No boy man afraid, no demon. The dreadest thing you have within our culture, we have no permission to be afraid of. So we sing this song to say, remember who you are, woodman. Remember who you are, warrior. Remember who you are, Trinidadian Caribbean man. No boy man afraid, no stick man. No boy man afraid, no demon.
Manhood, brought to you in part by Lucas Aid and Solomon's Bespoke.
Manhood, brought to you by Lucasade. You're watching CNC3.